Welcome to Heart Echo Channel, where every story finds its voice. Lena Miller lived in a quiet suburb just outside of Seattle. Life was gentle, the kind of calm that lulls you into a sense of peace. But Lena's heart had always been restless, a storm waiting for a shore. That shore was Noah Reed. Noah, with his quiet eyes and a smile so soft it could melt the winter frost. He was a man who carried his own storms inside but made sure the rain never touched anyone else. He was her anchor, her safe harbor, the love she thought would last a lifetime. Their love story wasn't a whirlwind romance. It was a slow burn, a steady flame that warmed her from the inside out. They built a life together, brick by brick, with shared laughter and whispered secrets under the stars. Noah wasn't just her partner. He was the keeper of her dreams, the one person who saw the entirety of her soul and loved every piece of it, or so she thought. The day he left, the world didn't just turn gray. It lost all its color. He packed his bags with a silence that was louder than any argument they ever had, his eyes avoiding hers as if her gaze would physically hold him back. He said he needed space, that he needed to find himself. Lena was left with a half-empty apartment and a heart full of questions he refused to answer. The silence he left behind was a deafening roar, a constant reminder of the void he had created. Months turned into a year. Lena tried to move on, tried to piece her life back together, but every corner of their home held a memory, a ghost of a life they once shared. The quiet suburb that once felt like a sanctuary now felt like a cage. One chilly evening, driven by a sudden need to purge the remnants of their past, Lena found herself sorting through Noah's old boxers, things he'd left behind, things he'd said he would come back for but never did. Old books, vinyl records, a collection of worn-out t-shirts that still smelled faintly of him. It was a painful journey through their shared history, each item a small dagger to her heart. As she reached the bottom of a box, her fingers brushed against the familiar texture of his favorite denim jacket. She pulled it out, holding it close, breathing in the ghost of his scent. That's when she felt it, a stiff corner, tucked away in the inside pocket. A hidden envelope. Her heart began to pound a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The handwriting on the front was unmistakably his, but the words made her blood run cold. To the girl I should have chosen. Her pulse trembled, a fragile, fluttering thing in her throat. 1,000 scenarios flashed through her mind, each one more painful than the last. Was this it? The answer to all her unspoken questions? Was there someone else all along? Had their entire relationship been a lie? Did he love another woman? Someone he secretly pined for while he was with her? The thought was a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. Her hands shook so violently she could barely hold the envelope steady. She had to know. With a deep, shuddering breath, she broke the seal and slowly unfolded the letter inside. Noah's words spilled onto the page, not in the neat, confident script she knew, but in a fractured, desperate scrawl. They were like broken promises, shattered pieces of the man she loved. The letter began, "If you're reading this, it means I finally found the courage to disappear completely. I know you deserve an explanation, but I don't know if I can give you one that makes sense. I pushed away the one thing that ever felt real, the only person who ever saw the light in me when all I felt was darkness." Lena's heart ached. The words were a confession, but not the one she was expecting. He continued, "I didn't leave because I didn't love her. God, I loved her more than I knew how to say. I left because I didn't think I deserved her." How can you ask someone to hold your hand when you're constantly trying not to drown? Lena read on, her vision blurring with unshed tears. The letter spoke of a deep-seated self-loathing, a battle with demons she never even knew he was fighting. He wrote about feeling like a fraud, a broken thing that would only end up hurting the one person he wanted to protect. He described his love for this unnamed woman as a beacon of light he felt unworthy of standing in. The pain in his words was palpable, a raw, open wound. And then she reached the final line, the twist that would unravel everything she thought she knew. He wrote, "Lena, my beautiful, brilliant Lena, I wish I had learned to love myself enough to love you, right? Please, forgive me." The letter was for her. It was always for her. He just couldn't bring himself to write her name at the beginning, couldn't face the reality of addressing his own failure, his own fear that she'd see his name and never want to hear from him again. The truth hit her with the force of a tidal wave. Lena collapsed to her knees, the letter clutched in her hand, a sob tearing through her chest. Noah never left because he stopped loving her. He left because he believed, with every broken piece of his heart, that she deserved better than him. He hadn't chosen someone else over her. He had chosen his own perceived unworthiness. The next day, as Lena was still reeling from the revelation, a hesitant knock came at her door. It was Noah's sister, Chloe, her eyes redrimmed and filled with a sorrow that mirrored Lena's own. "Lena." Chloe's voice was barely a whisper. I know you probably hate him, but there's something you need to know." She took a deep breath, her own tears beginning to fall. "Noah wrote that letter hours before he checked himself into a mental health center. He's been struggling for a long time, Lena. So much more than any of us knew. He didn't want you to see him that broken. He didn't want his darkness to extinguish your light." Lena's heart didn't just break, it shattered into a million irreparable pieces. Not because he had walked away from their life together, but because he had walked away alone, convinced he wasn't worthy of love, convinced he had to face his storm without an anchor. He had been drowning, and instead of reaching for her hand, he had pushed her away to save her from the undertow. All this time, she had been mourning a love she thought was lost, when in reality, she should have been fighting for a man who was lost within himself. A week later, Lena found herself standing outside the doors of the wellness center. Her fear was a cold, not in her stomach, but her resolve was a fire in her soul. She walked down the quiet hallway to the visiting room. And there he was. Noah looked fragile, a shadow of the man she remembered. He was thinner, his eyes holding a haunted, distant look. He seemed scared. But then, he saw her. As his gaze met hers, something shifted, a flicker of light. A glimmer of a hope he thought he'd lost forever, ignited in the depths of his eyes. He stood up slowly, hesitantly, as if he wasn't sure she was real. Lena closed the distance between them, her own tears now flowing freely. She reached out and took his trembling hands in hers. They were cold, but she held them tight, trying to pour all of her strength, all of her unwavering love, into his very being. She looked into his eyes, into the soul of the man she had never stopped loving, and whispered the words that would change everything. "You should have chosen me, but I'm still choosing you. We'll get through this together." A single tear rolled down Noah's cheek, followed by another. It wasn't a cry of sadness, but of profound, overwhelming relief. In that moment, a new chapter began. And sometimes, we learn that love doesn't return to where it ended. It doesn't try to recreate the past. Instead, it returns to where the healing begins, building a new foundation, stronger and more resilient than ever before. If you or someone you know is struggling, please remember you are not alone and help is available. Reaching out is a sign of strength. We've included some resources in the description below. Thank you for joining us on Heart Echo channel. If this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share. Your story matters.